Good morning and welcome to another conversation with Mose. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world and that you're one day closer to your dreams, hopes, prayers, and aspirations coming true. Today is a special day. I decided to do something a little different, and today's subject is kindred souls having a conversation. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Kindred souls having a conversation with my special guest, Deanna Dawn, singer, actor, actress, activist, and I'll let her expound a little bit more about her background. I've been knowing her for quite a few years, so we may get on a tangent, so forgive us if we do. We'll get back on track. And as always, thank you for listening.
Thank you. That's a beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. And I'm super happy to be here.
First of all, let me say thank you, thank you, thank you. We go back like babies and pacifiers, as they say. Back. and
So
honest,
true.
and honestly, I just thought about it. I've been knowing you since I was 21, I think 22. And I'm not gonna ask how old you were back then. I know you were a little bit older than me, but I'm not gonna go there. But
I
any,
was a baby, just a little baby.
but as I said to the audience, I know we can probably go so many different directions with this conversation, but I decided that we might should just interview each other and ask each other some questions. And we're both Leos. We come from that family, for the people that are into astrology and that kind of thing. But and she really, honestly, I can say she's a true Leo woman. I honestly I don't know any Leo women that don't have certain traits that I don't know. It's just I always know when I'm talking to a Leo woman. I have to say that up front. But
I,
go ahead, introduce
I
yourself.
like that. Well, I am Deanna Dawn. And yes, we go back way, way, way back. and um, I don't know. I like to let the work speak for itself. I love to create. I call myself the Renaissance Creatrix because I never met uh, a creation that I didn't want to explore or expound upon. Um, I love to write. I love to sing. That's pretty much where I started. I started singing first, um, and that moved into acting and producing and now filmmaking. And I just love creating. And my goal is always to create everlasting art, things that will hopefully stand the test of time and be a benefit to our people, um, and inspire.
Also, well, let me ask you this. This is my first question, which kind
Okay.
of piggybacks off what you just said. What keeps you grounded? Now, because I've been knowing you a long time, and you've always been this way with me. So
Mm-hmm.
again, what keeps you? You've had your hills and valleys and so on and so forth, like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But what keeps you centered and grounded with everything?
I have to say that my spiritual walk. I started as a child as a little Bible toting religious child. I went to Catholic school and I went to Baptist church on the weekend. So I saw very early in life that there was this beautiful creator who loved us. And I felt that always. I was a bit of a loner as a child, so I was able to really spend time in what I know now to be meditation. But at the time, I just knew I liked to be out in nature and by myself. And so I always can sort of return to the inner self when I need to. Um, I've learned over the years tools like if I find myself becoming anxious, I know how to breathe my way into a peaceful state of awareness, and that helps me to see things clearly. But I have to, I'm not religious at all now, but I am still deeply spiritual, and I like to maintain the connection that we all have with each other and with creation as a whole.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, it's yeah, especially in the industry, the entertainment industry. Period. I feel
Ooh,
I
yeah.
feel like that's missing. And to be honest with you, I have anxiety about. I think that's always I've been reluctant to be around it. I like going in it and coming out, going in and coming out because I feel like I was losing myself to
Mm,
the industry itself. And
mm-hmm.
and I can look back at different times in my life when I was kind of caught up, and like I said, you're one of the few people I know that I've never seen you be anything other than who you've been with towards me. Like I said, that's why it would shock me to see you. It's like I've never seen you upset or stressed or that's why I said it would be like, what is that, Deanna? But yeah,
Oh,
so I mean, like seriously, I
I go
mean,
there.
and I believe that, but that's why I'm like I'm at a stage where I want to be around more people that like how do you do that? And I'm on that journey now where I'm not. It doesn't come easy for me. I have to
Yeah.
work at it. Some things just take a little bit more effort, like my temper and positions that I put myself in. Or I find myself in. I'm not. It takes a lot more effort for me, so it's not as simple.
Well, Leo is a fire sign, so we naturally are passionate and fiery and easily excitable. And I happen to be a triple Leo, so I have sun, moon, and rising all in Leo. So it's a journey because I used to. It's kind of an exercise in taking my power back.
Right.
I used to allow other people, their movements, their words, their actions to allow well, I have to say allow because what they were doing is just being themselves.
Right.
And then my fire would rage because of who they were. So learning acceptance and really to have the patience to see people for who they are, where they are, and what they're bringing. Now, don't get me wrong, if somebody comes straight at me, it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. It's a problem. But I like to keep things in the conversational zone so we can just work through things. And I think it's easy if we operate from a space of, okay, you're a human, I'm a human, we're spirits in these bodies and we're having this experience. So let's find the common ground.
Right.
Um, and I think most times, that's possible.
I do too. Just
Yeah.
some of us just take a little bit more. I mean, I'm I'm real honest. I just
I
and
can't even imagine you upset, Mose. I mean, literally. I listen to your podcast. You are exactly the way I remember you being. I read your poetry. I love just when I listen to your podcast when I need to just be calm. If I need to um, be easy, if I'm in traffic and I want to just be at ease. So picturing you yelling at somebody is completely foreign to me. I can't imagine
Deanna, I mean, since I moved to Oklahoma, let me tell you, if if you crossed over the city limits and you asked, they probably got my picture hanging at certain posts because I'm telling you, I have turned this city out. I mean, I'm not joking. I have brought Atlanta and Ohio to Oklahoma, and they are so not ready for me. I mean,
Wow.
they, I, I'm going to write a book about these experiences. It's so, and when I tell people, my parents, my family, my friends, they really don't believe me.
Hmm.
And it when I first got here, it really, really, honestly was a challenge because it was like you heard about these type of people, but you're like, oh my god, you really exist. It was like unicorns everywhere in my mind. It and honestly, black, white, Hispanic, I've literally have a better understanding, like you said, of where people are
Mm-hmm.
because I was the stranger coming into their territory. So I was
Hmm.
like, some people were doing things they didn't even know they were doing. And I'm
Hmm.
like for example, once they knew I was from Atlanta, they thought Atlanta was like, oh my God, you're from Atlanta. Are black people really like that there? It, black
Mm.
people, it was disturbing. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
like you can go there
Like
too.
that.
I mean,
Right.
well, I mean, like successful and I said,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but I'm like,
Yeah.
but you can go there. It's not a place you can't go to. I mean, they made it seem
Right.
so unattainable, and I'm just like, well,
Wow.
I've heard that black people are so affluent and they're educated and this. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, but
Yeah.
but it was it was disturbing to me, like really disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. When I first started contracting at this job, it was
Mm-hmm.
at an oil and gas company. Five
Mm-hmm.
black men in the whole office.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I've been in all white environments. It didn't bother me at all actually.
Mm-hmm.
So a white woman who's a young lady, she caught me on the elevator and she said, "Oh, so you lived in Atlanta? Were you there when they were the Atlanta child murders? Were you living there then?"
Okay.
And I paused for a second and I'm like, "Okay, we were in 2000 something." I said, "It,
Right.
is that all you know about Atlanta?" "Oh, I was just wondering if
Wow.
you were you living there then." I said, "Well,
Mm.
no." I said, "I'm gonna need you to do your research," you know.
Yeah.
And she's looking at me like, and like I was just asking, and I honestly looked at her like, "What?" I didn't even have. She called me off. It was early in the morning. And she called me off guard. I was just like, "What in the what?" So the same company, another white woman asked me the same question. She said, "Why
Mm.
do you think a white man will be getting away with killing?" I don't think it was that guy. She was at her desk, and I said, "Let me just tell you something." I said, "I'm gonna pretend like we didn't have this conversation. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you this one." I said, "Because clearly y'all don't know anything about the South or Georgia." I said, "Because if that's all y'all know," I said, "but we gonna pretend like this ain't happened because this is inappropriate, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
walk away now." And she looked at me. Two different white women. I had been here a year, Deanna. Who
Mm.
who does that?
Oh my gosh. And they, I guess they just, that's all they had heard. But you know, having grown up here, I have never seen a white mayor. I've only had black mayors my entire lifetime.
Right.
And so it shocks me when, I it's sort of like, it's definitely culturally different
Right.
to have grown up in a place where there was lavish black affluence.
Right.
I remember that when they were building the airport, and it's now the world's largest airport.
Right.
It's just black achievement, black affluence. My mother was very politically active, and people that used to come to our house have streets named after them now. And so it's just a beautiful way to ground oneself in who you are as a black person
Right.
in America, especially. And so I haven't done enough world travel yet to be able to really compare things, in other countries, and what it's like. But as a foundational black American, I can't express what a beautiful way to enter the planet Atlanta is. We used to call it the gathering place for souls from Atlantis.
Right.
And some of us still do call it that. So I do believe in reincarnation, and there are some really mystical, amazing souls here.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful place. So they need to do a little more research, because there's a lot more than child murders 40 years ago or whatever it was.
Exactly. So, what questions do you have for me on this side of the world?
you know, I have a bunch of questions for you, but let me see what I want to ask you first. Okay, as long as I've known you, and when I met you, you worked for BMG, which was like the big dog music industry publishing house, and just amazing. And you've always seemed just to be in the mix
Mhm.
of of show business, of everything. So I'm going to ask you this: if you can craft the next 5 to 10 years, and of course you can because you're creating, what would they look like for you? What would you see yourself doing? Who are you around? Where do you live? How are you making your mark in the world and on the world?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first, it's important. It's always been important that my personal life and my professional life balance each other. Like I never
Hmm.
wanted one more than the other. Like I've always, even though I've always been career driven, I like both. So,
Hmm.
professionally, I would like to dive into my screenwriting. I'm hoping and manifesting,
Mm.
uh, and I'm going to send it to you. My screenplay. Actually, I'm very very proud of it. And even though it's the first
Yes.
draft, it's the first draft. But and I haven't. I had to put it down. But actually diving into movies, I don't necessarily want to be a director, but I like the screenwriting process. I mean, I really really enjoy that. And to be honest with you, I love music still. I mean, I'm not really interested in owning a record label like I did years ago. I wanted, to have my own label, but now that's kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to be in behind the scenes of, like, if I'm working on my movie, I want to work on the soundtrack as well. I
Mm-hmm.
would want to be hands on and picking the songs. And but the other thing is, I know you're gonna laugh, but I'm really serious. I want to buy into black hair care products. And I know
Of
you're gonna,
course.
because there's money.
Yes.
Because honestly, it's
Yes.
exhausting. I want some of that money. So,
Oh my God. Oh my
so,
God. Oh my
so
God. I have to tell you what happened to me last week, dealing with that exact thing.
right,
So I'm over in a part of Atlanta that I haven't really spent a lot of time in, but
right,
I just find myself here right now in West Atlanta.
right,
And there's a place called Ebony Beauty Supply. I was like, okay, all right, West Side, maybe there's a black owned hair,
right,
beauty supply store.
right,
Let me check it out.
right,
So I go in there, and there's an Asian lady behind the counter, and there's a black woman who is, walking the store and obviously an employee. And I asked her, "Is this place black owned?" She looked at me and said, "No." I said, "Okay, thank you for letting me know that." So I, of course, turned around and walked right back out. But it is shocking to me
right,
that this industry that was, you know, I remember Johnson and Johnson and
right,
Jet Magazine and all the things that, you know, and I came here and I was talking to some people and I was telling them about it. And I said, look, the same way they go to India and buy people's hair, that's another old rabbit hole of sisters weaving.
right,
We'll go there a
right,
different time, probably.
right,
That's
right,
we need to do a movie about that. But anyway, that's
right, right,
um. But we could go to Ethiopia, to Somalia. Uh, all of this genetic everything came from our people, so we can offer to buy people's hair to weave here because we've allowed another people get a complete corner on something that we elevate
right,
to billions, maybe trillions by now of dollars
right.
globally.
Exactly.
It makes no sense. It's unacceptable. I hope you keep that part of your dream alive because I feel you on that. We can partner on that.
Yes,
We
we
can
could.
figure that out because it's just money laying on the table waiting.
And you're a natural. You've always been a natural hair person anyway. And
Hmm.
I have to tell you, the way I've always worn my hair in different ways. And my mother said a long time ago, she said, "For a man, you've had so many different looks for a young man."
Hmm.
I said, "I never thought about it like that, mom." But I've always, especially since I love wearing my hair. Like, my nappy self. I love being. I mean, I've never been. Oklahoma has made me very like blacker. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mean to say it like, but this I have a sense of pride that I've never had before. But just to answer your
Yes.
question, even more is that I want to be more. I want to raise awareness of
Hmm.
about different things in the community, and actually, we can talk about this another time. But I'm actually working on my first research paper, and I'm
Mm.
doing it on the depression in Black men. And this is my
Mm.
first research paper, and I'm telling you, I'm diving into it. That's why when we get off the podcast, I got to get back to it because I got to do my research and all this other stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. That needs to happen because there there are it's very underreported and
Right,
under misunderstood,
right.
I would say. And I'd love to read that when you're done with that.
For sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's my first one, and I asked my professor if it was okay as far as
Mhm.
subjects, and she said it needed to be something we were passionate about, and
Mhm.
it's something that I do feel very strongly about in terms of my experiences as a black man, as a young man, and I can see my evolution and how I outgrew certain people, and not like you said, I respect people where they are,
Mhm.
in their lives, and some of us are in different spaces. Some of us are late in life in terms of our experiences and things like that. But I I have a huge compassion for us. And again, nothing to take away from black women. That's a totally different kind of respect. But in terms of the things that I've experienced as a black man, and
Mhm.
even as a black gay man, that's
Mhm.
that's a whole nother. Like for example, I don't really get to spend that time on that part of my life. I don't really get to focus on that because I feel like that's a luxury that white privileged men have.
Mhm.
Because I haven't gotten respect on this side of the spectrum. So as a black man, once I
Mhm.
get that, then maybe I can focus on that. And I hope you understand what I'm saying because people look at me like,
Mhm.
well, what do you mean? And I've said that to my friends and acquaintances in Atlanta. I don't have anything against LGBTQ plus blah 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 blah, but they hadn't done anything for Mose Harden. So I don't mean that again negatively. It's just that what happens. I mean, let me get paid what I should be getting paid. Let me get
Mhm.
I can get the house
Mhm.
I want. Then if I want to
Mhm.
get married, if I want to do this, then that's my option. But I still haven't got that respect on this side of the fence, so I can't really
Mhm.
actively. And then every time I turn on the TV, there's a type that they seem to keep falling back on. The
Yeah.
effeminate, educated,
Yeah.
bougie. No disrespect, hey,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I literally have a problem with that's all y'all know. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, and then and
Mhm.
then let me just say this, just like with straight, you have a lot of people going to the, like you said, the pinky counterparts. That's just
Mhm.
as prevalent in the gay community. You got people that have quote unquote non-black spouses, and
Mhm.
and again, to each his own. But it's kind of like again, that's been my struggle because it's like I'm in a room and most of my friends are straight. I don't really have gay male friends at all. I mean, not acquaintances because their
Mhm.
conversations actually piss me off. They just do. I mean, and
Mhm.
when I say it, my father and my mother look at me. What do you mean? I said because we're talking, Deanna. This is the truth. As much as I love Atlanta, the traumatic
Mhm.
experiences that I had there, I still love that city. Great memories, but there was nowhere to go for counseling for the experiences that I had. I mean, nowhere.
Mhm.
I mean, to this day,
Mhm.
they can tell you what a
Mhm.
club is, they can tell you this and that, but they can't tell you where to go get support. If you don't have health insurance, what doctor should I use? If I don't
Yeah.
have, how do I get food stamps? How do I survive? You can't tell
Mhm.
me that. You
Mm.
know, how do I buy a
Mhm.
house? I mean, and those are the
Mhm.
things that there are black men in my position that are trying to do better, that are trying to better themselves. And I've
Mhm.
never been to jail, never been arrested. And
Mhm.
I feel like a mutant, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I didn't mean to get on the tangent. It
And
just kind of like,
no, it
yeah,
it's important because we need to have these structures in place
right,
for our community,
right,
and that's a lot of I sent you the 20-minute 25-minute version of the Black Agenda, but
right,
to me that is what we need to be focusing on: how to strengthen our community,
right,
how to look inward, and how to tangibly build things for ourselves
right,
like we used to.
right,
We did this post reconstruction.
right,
We were building all over the place.
right,
And the things we built were often firebombed from the government.
right.
We know about Tulsa, we know about Rosewood.
Right.
There were dozens and dozens of so-called Black Wall Streets all over this country. And we were building institutions, banking, hospitals, things, bureaucracy for ourselves that we could utilize and could have expounded upon for our larger community.
Right.
And because of the things that have happened, we are always right back at square one.
Right.
And those things were intentional and they need to be addressed. And that I think that's why there's so much movement in the reparations space now, because people are really realizing that these were tangible financial things that were done
Right.
and undermined. And our ancestors were literally robbed of.
Right.
And so now who's going to pay that debt
Right.
that is owed? Because a lot of people owe a debt, and it needs to be, hey, they want us to pay Georgia Power.
Right.
So
Right.
you got to pay. You got to pay your debts. You got to pay your bills.
And and
People say.
and that's the thing with me. I feel like people are in there. I know this is probably gonna sound harsh, but I everything you said I agree with 100%. So when I see people complaining online and venting, I understand that too. But in my something I learned from my dad is like, what's your plan? I'm in that space. Okay, this is happening. Okay, this is going on. We can talk about all day how we're not getting justice, we're not this and that. And I get that. But what's the plan? That's where I am. I don't need you to remind me.
I'm there too. I'm so there. I'm right there. Because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly.
And I'm such a logical thinker,
right,
that for me, there's specificity in
right,
everything that I think of.
Right.
And I have literally plans of action that would be ready to go tomorrow,
right,
with the proper funding.
Right.
And the funding, to me, would boil down, there are 42 million foundational Black Americans. Right. If each one of them donated $1
right,
a month, not a penny more, $1 a month, that's $42 million in each month coming in to build what we see that we need for our community, for our larger community, for our children, with the Department of Education possibly closing down, how to educate our children, how to build boarding schools and things. And it can be done with $1 a month, literally.
Right.
We are a nation. And so reparations, I think, is a part of that.
Right.
Again, self-containment is something we've always been good at.
Exactly.
There was the whole segregation integration movement was very segmented,
right,
according to my parents and people who were a part of it, because there were people who were like, no, if we integrate, all we're doing is taking our money to others who
right,
don't even want us there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that I love that you're saying, what are we going to do with what we have now?
Right.
And what are we going to do with what we get in the future? And I think that there is some very clear, I don't like to put certain ideas out
right,
like that, because I've seen things get snatched,
right,
talking on these devices.
Right, exactly.
and I look at people like Terrence Howard, who literally holds the future in his hand. And people are trying to undermine, trying to act like he's not who he is, and act like his science and the math he's bringing is not the future. Right. It is the future. Right. But because it's coming out of the mouth of a Black man,
right,
it's just, hogwash.
Right.
They bring a bunch of degreed people and try to undermine it. But the brother is onto something. He's if you look, you don't even have to dive deeply into what he's talking about, and you will see that free energy is possible.
Right.
We all can have it. The earth provides it. And, but for greed of these companies, and back in the day, JP Morgan, Tesla patented a free energy source 100 years ago.
Right.
Why are we all paying power bills?
Right.
What is that? You know? So I could go down these rabbit holes forever, but I really want to get into the specifics of it. That's why I made the Black Agenda, and that's why ideally I want to be able to talk about it a lot more. But I have a question for you,
Okay.
and it's a double.
Okay.
Okay, you're doing the research on depression in Black men. I think that's so important. Are you happy? And what defines happiness for you?
I'm happy now. I'm very happy. Personally, internally, my struggle is when I step out the door into the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't presently like the way the world has changed so much, and it's scary to me. I'm happy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happy doing what I'm doing now, creating and the things that make me happy. I'm happy in my relationship. I'm happy with my dog, my parents, my siblings, with
Mm-hmm.
myself. My aging
Mm-hmm.
process. I love the gray hair. I love I love all of that. But when I step into the world, step
Mm-hmm.
out my door,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I get filled with anxiety because
Mm-hmm.
I have a very strong distrust of people that developed over time, and it
Mm-hmm.
was from friendships, not from relationships. You make peace
Mm-hmm.
with people get married, people get divorced, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
kind of go in not expecting stuff. It's just relationships, romantic life is totally different than friendship. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that person that friendship was sacred to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt it was sacred, even when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. And a lot of people don't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my happiness was I've always been a happy person, but I've always been disappointed. So those things made me unhappy. But when I started focusing on me and my personal happiness, exercise, I love running, I love being outside, I love going to the park,
Mm-hmm.
I love writing. Those things bring me so much joy. I love taking pictures. I love being a photographer. I love writing poetry. So I am happy in that regard. Very happy,
Mm-hmm.
like overjoyed. And then it bothers me that it bothers other people. I mean, I can't
Mm-hmm.
tell you how many conversations I've had, whether it was at my job, on the side, Mose, why did you do this? Why are you acting like that? I'm just being myself. Being around
Mm-hmm.
insecure people that are threatened by me, or, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I am sick of those conversations. I mean, you
That's a
have,
Leo plight.
uh, so yes, I'm very happy,
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically happy. And even
Mm-hmm.
online, it's like I don't have to, and I'm not one, even when I had cancer, this year I'll be 14 years cancer free. Damn right I'm happy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
overjoyed. So when I get out
Yeah.
and people like, why he's so damn happy? Because I am.
Mm,
And now I
exactly.
don't explain it. I don't
Yeah.
explain it to nobody. I don't have to. And then they look at my resume. They can't believe I worked at BMG. They can't believe I did this. I've never been to jail. I don't have anything on my credit.
Mm-hmm.
Never been. White people look at me like, oh my God, what? You left Atlanta? How many people ask me, did you run? What are you running from? You know how many
Mm,
people ask me, black people ask me, no, I moved because I wanted to move.
mm-hmm.
And they're looking at you like, well, you don't have any kids, you don't have any baby mamas, you don't have any, criminal
Mm-hmm.
background. They looking at me
Mm-hmm.
like something, and I'm explaining myself. Why am I explaining myself? You're gonna do a background check anyway.
You're
So,
right.
so that part makes me unhappy because I feel like I'm
Yeah.
apologizing for how beautiful my life has been.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a black man, I either had to have committed a crime, something like, and the
Mm-hmm.
black people that continued to ask me, "You've never been to jail?"
Mm-hmm.
No. And the thing is, my father told me I had one get out of jail free card that I've never cashed in. You got one. I
Yeah.
was 18. So my thing is, oh, okay. So it's like I'm sick of apologizing for the life that God has blessed me with. Yes, I was in the
Yeah.
music industry for 2 years. I mean, for a lot of years, I know a lot of people. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
know me. I have
Mm-hmm.
great relationships with people. I'm not apologizing for that. I will be
Mm-hmm.
57 years old. I have a right to say what, and if I want to wear my hair super nappy, Afro puffs, dreads, whatever. It's like
Honey, nappy rhymes with happy.
so
No, we don't run from the rain over here.
right,
You
and
just
I'm
run in it.
right, and I am. I'm very
Yeah.
happy, but it's like
Yeah.
I keep apologizing for it. because it makes people uncomfortable. That's when I get, and you said it earlier, a rage. It's that's what makes me unhappy. It's like, again, Deanna, I think people are who they are, and
Yeah,
I'm not asking
absolutely.
people to change or whatever. And I don't. We could name names about people if we wanted to, but that's not even where I'm at because it gives people
Mm-hmm.
power.
Mm-hmm.
You don't exist anymore to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say about you, but I
Yeah.
am genuinely happy. Like sitting here talking to you at 6 o'clock in the morning, having my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm elated. And then
Me
when I get off
too.
the podcast, I'm gonna walk my dog, and we're gonna be out there for an hour. I'm gonna let him sniff everything he wants to sniff. So I'm saying, and that brings me joy.
Let him be happy too.
My little black dog. So I'm saying, yes, I'm extremely happy, but I'm sick and tired of apologizing for it. Stop asking
No,
me.
I just want to say right now, don't do that.
Right,
Do not apologize for it.
right,
If they have a problem, that's their problem.
right,
They have to work through that.
right,
You unapologetically be who you are,
right.
because that's the example that people need to see. That's what will inspire the next person who you come across and who's not afraid of or intimidated by who you are. They just want to know, how did you become this way,
Right.
and what can I learn from the walk you've been walking. So, child, is there always going to be people who are attempting to undermine
Right.
whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
So don't let them affect your joy, your bliss
Right.
in any way,
Right.
because you are here to lead and show by example among all the other wonderful things you create. So just know that, truly.
Well, thank you for that. And let me ask you the same question. Are you happy?
I am happy. I am, because, someone, a very wise person, said to me that she's stepping away from the word happy because it tends to be tied to happenings.
Right.
So people are like, oh, I'll be happy when I get this, or I'm happy because I have that, or whatever it is. It's, the words are simpatico in that way. And I feel that the deep, abiding joy and bliss that I just naturally have comes from a place within.
Right.
And it is completely, uh, just, nothing else matters except that that bliss exists.
Right.
So wherever I find myself, whatever I'm doing, whatever, how I'm spending my time, I made a commitment to myself many years ago to only do work I enjoy.
Right.
So I have a plethora of things as an artist. I have to support myself sometimes,
Right.
not with art
Right.
directly, but I do home renovations. I do all sorts of things that keep me in the creative, joyful space
Right.
as I walk through each day. And so, yeah, I am definitely happy and blissful, joyful, and ideally expanding that every day with every choice and every movement.
And I have to say that, and even again, since I've been knowing you, and particularly you as a black woman living in Atlanta at the time we were coming up in the 90s, you're the one of a few women that I know that never, a man was never in the front in terms of our conversation, meaning like you were,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say you didn't date or anything like that, but you were always, to me, I met a lot of women that wanted to be married, that wanted to have this and that, but you never.
Ooh.
And my best friend, she's the same way. You never. You're happy alone, but you're also, even if you're with somebody, you're just as happy with or without.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I met you and you were dating somebody and you like, then I saw you again 6 months later, you're still going to look the same to me. And then I may say,
Mm-hmm.
well, how's so and so? She said, well, I'm not seeing him anymore. And then that
Yeah.
would be that. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like, and you don't, and I don't know, I don't have to know the process. I don't know if they broke your heart, you broke his heart, or whatever. It's just you've always been able to, I don't want to say compartmentalize. That's why I said I've never seen you upset or stressed or anything. And I'm not saying that you don't have those emotions, but
Hmm.
and I feel like I've been that way because people have never really seen me, except my close circle,
Hmm.
seen me really unravel. And
Yeah.
and the other thing too, I respect the fact that you've always kept your life kind of private, but not in a like I've never like you've never asked me really intruding questions. I've never done it with you, and it's always a natural like you share. I don't know. I guess it's funny now because I look back on people that have been in truth, and I'm an open book. I'm not really, again, but I think people think there's a what's the word I'm looking for? People always say you're bougie or you're being this and that. I don't think that. I think people are very. I'm respectful of people and their boundaries,
Yeah.
and I don't like the fact that it's like I don't know. I just think sometimes people overthink it. It's just that,
Yeah.
and I don't like if people say, well, how come I have never been to your house? Because you just haven't. I don't, I
Right.
mean, but not, I mean,
That's
I
a
don't,
sacred space. I don't let just everybody come in.
exactly. But
Yeah.
the fact that you asked me that is the one of the reasons why you've never been invited.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I was the king of having get-togethers, little gatherings or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just interesting that as I meet certain people of I can see now the people that needed that attention, that needed that that extra. But I've
Mm.
always been respectful of people that were in relationships. Like if you said, Mose, I'm going to spend some time with my husband, or how's Rick? How's he doing? I've always been that guy that,
Hmm.
and my friends that had wives, to say,
Yeah.
hey, how's so and so? How are the kids? I've never been disrespectful of that. And when I meet
Yeah.
people, it's like, where you do that at? I mean, and it's just and to get back to your original question, when I step outside and I see that, like for example, my nephew, I went to visit my parents, and he was like 10 at the time, and he came in the house, and my mother spoke to him, and he said, "Hey, he kind of threw his hand up at my mother, like, hey," and I
Mm.
was like, if he had been my child, I'm like, who? That's your grandma. I mean, what I mean? It was like I felt
Yeah.
like he was kind of. I'm like, we couldn't do that to our grandparents,
Yeah.
and it's just a different world that, to be honest with you, I let it upset me. Not, he wasn't doing. I mean, just I'm using that as an example, but to getting back to what you said, I can't allow things that are different to me to upset me, and that's where I get into this, trying to understand when I pray, Lord, help me understand this new world that I don't want it to change me, but help me understand so I can maneuver through it because that's
Mm.
how I feel
Hmm.
most times. It's like I've never experienced ageism until now. Some
Hmm.
people, young people, telling me that I'm too old to. Then I've never. It's like now I'm that guy. It's like what? And that's
Well,
that's what I got to maneuver through. So
I wrote a whole book about that, and I really feel that as a Bible toter
right,
as a child, certain things stood out to me.
right,
There are immortals in the Bible. Enoch never died. Um, there were Melchizedek. No one knew who his mother and father were, and no one knew his beginning or his endings.
right,
These were prominent, and then the ones who they were keeping track of were on the planet 6, 7, 8, 900 years. Methuselah was on the planet.
right,
So historically, if you believe the Bible is a
right,
historic record, I do believe that it's a mix of both.
right,
There has been an undermining of our longevity
right,
as uh, people and as melanated people specifically. Um, and I feel that that's due to how we have been defining ourselves, how we have turned something that is cyclical into a straight line,
right,
like the wonderful Terrence Howard says. There are no straight lines in creation.
right,
Everything is a spiral. It's like the curvature of our hair. It's the moon and the planets circulating around each other.
Right.
It's winter, spring, summer, fall. It's cycles. That's what creation created.
Right.
This linear from 0 to 99 is some man-made stuff. And I, I don't really mess with man-made stuff
Right.
because
Exactly.
man doesn't get it right.
Exactly.
And so it's again, that's a part of what I call the buy-in,
Right.
when people start to believe in numbers
Right.
as a way of defining themselves.
Right.
So, uh, like I said, the book Eternal Youth, Eternal Life is about that.
Right.
It's an immortality roadmap, if you so choose, because
Right.
I believe every death is a suicide, every single one.
Right.
And so, you know, I often point to the example of Carrie Fisher and her mom, Debbie Reynolds.
Mhm.
They were best friends. They were the closest of the close throughout their lives, both in show business, both, you know, highly accomplished actors and performers. And Carrie Fisher left the planet. And, you know, it was shocking. She was still youthful ish, according to, you know, whatever. And the very next day, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, said, I want to go where Carrie is. And she went into her room, no illness, no nothing, laid down on her bed and left the planet.
Right.
So there are hundreds, probably millions of stories of people who've been married for a long time, and one leaves, the other follows. These are things that are choices.
Right.
And we're taught from the time we're little children, indoctrinated with a mindset of, no, you're a finite being and you have this linear amount of time. 19 and 901 are completely different, and your body must deteriorate. Things that just are factually not true.
Right.
Our body is made of energy. Every 7 years, you have a brand new body,
Right.
because every single cell in your body has replicated,
Right.
has reproduced itself. So it's brand new according to your blueprint.
Right.
And if your blueprint is saying, oh, well, I can't do that like I used to. Oh, I can't do this. Then your body is listening.
Right.
And it wants to serve you, the spirit that lives in it. And whatever it is that you tell it to do, that's what it's going to do.
Right.
And people don't understand that. And Lord knows we aren't taught that.
Right.
At the same time, that's just another way that humans attempt to limit other humans,
Right.
and limit based on their own insecurities,
Exactly.
who they can become.
Right.
And so, yeah, we haven't gone deeply down this rabbit hole since we reconnected, but I wanted to say something about what you were sharing a minute ago.
Mm.
First of all, I did not know, as much as we hung out back in the day, I didn't know you were gay. I had no idea.
Yeah.
You are that private in the sense of relationships, because you were saying I got married like at 16ish, so we definitely won't go there. It didn't work out, obviously.
Right.
But I learned a lot about myself, and I identify myself as poly now. But I had no idea. There was nothing about you. I never saw you in a relationship,
Right.
or flirting or beginning a relationship with anyone. So I was completely surprised, pleasantly surprised, just surprised.
And,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're private. And I think that's a part of the Leo way of being too. We're very public when we're with people,
Right.
but we're very inner when we're alone,
Right.
and when we're nurturing our own
Right.
inner stuff.
Exactly. And I definitely want to share some stuff with you offline once we wrap up. So to kind of fill in some gray areas that you might be like, oh, like some aha moments that you'll be like, that I'll take offline. But for the most part, I honestly, my struggle was definitely, again, we'll definitely have to do another podcast to dive into some stuff, because I think you'll be like, and that's where my screenplay came from. And I'm definitely going to let you read it once I get it.
I can't wait. I can't wait to read it.
I really do want your
I'm
thoughts
trying to be
on
patient.
it. Yeah.
Send it.
Yeah, because it's something I really, and I want somebody again that can be objective. That's on the outside. I let my best friend read it a while back, and honestly, I loved her comment, but I wanted more, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I say more, I meant like specifics. Like, okay, I like this, but I would have learned more about that. And I know some people don't
Mm.
think that way. Like, okay, I like this character, but I would love to know more about. Because when I watch stuff, again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole either. But again, I have so many stories I could take different sections of my life, even the music industry. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've incorporated that into my screenplay, different things, conversations, and a lot of it is real situations that really happened to me,
Yes.
and mixed with fantasy and but there's a lot of going back and forth in time in terms of going back to the 90s, coming back to the present day. So there's a
Ooh.
lot of stuff in it, that I
You.
really incorporated into it. And writing it, it was really challenging because it was like going back and hairstyles changing, the flat top fade to dreadlocks to, so it's
Hmm.
crazy.
I love it. I
So
love it. I can't wait to read it.
and
Seriously, you're a
and
great writer,
and
so I know I'm gonna love it. I'm
and
looking forward to it.
and thank you for that. But it's funny too. I did my first research paper a couple weeks ago, and I got my first grade on it. I got a A on it, and I'm really proud of that. And
Of
my
course you
professor,
did.
she and I know this is gonna sound crazy, and I told my partner I'm not used to getting compliments on my creativity, and she was like,
What?
no, and she said you have a knack for this. She really really she loved my subject matter, and I did a
Mm-hmm.
whole paper about my cancer experience. We had to do a narrative essay, and I did a whole uh, 6 paragraphs about my cancer experience, and I was really vulnerable and I was really honest, and
Mm-hmm.
that's automatically what I wanted to write. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like she was so enamored with my honesty and with the vulnerability of it. And then of course she graded it, and
Mm.
I did really well. But
Yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
used to people complimenting. I'm used to people saying, "Well, you should have did this, or you should have said that." And
Oh.
I had anxiety even before she graded the paper. So I was like thinking, "Oh, she's not gonna like this." What I mean? But she was very
Mm.
complimentary. She said, "You are natural at this." She said, "Clearly, the only thing I'm learning is to incorporate the tools, that the
Mm-hmm.
class, But
Yeah.
getting used to, and now I'm gonna be. This is the last thing I'm gonna say because we definitely going over time, but
Yeah. We
yeah,
we
but and
we
that's
can
fine.
go
That's just
forever.
but exactly. But Deanna, honestly, I'm not afraid of success. I'm not, but
Yeah.
I do have anxiety about money and getting what you get what you pray for. You know,
Mm.
and if all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden Mose, quotations, it would be because I'm gonna still be the same Mose. I'm gonna still be me in terms of my
Mm-hmm.
core. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how does that guy merge with the world? Like, how does that
Mm.
guy? So I'm constantly, again, learning to receive compliments, learning to people saying like, I didn't really like myself. So that's another reason, far as relationships go, which is a whole. I didn't have that self esteem like that. I mean, like something Oprah said. I knew I was smart, but I never saw myself as attractive. Never. Not until
Mm.
my 30s when I really
Mm-hmm.
saw myself. Like, but at that time when I met you, oh, I wasn't even close to. I mean, when I tell you, I didn't have low self esteem. I just didn't have high self esteem. You know, I knew I was a
Mm-hmm.
good person, but I never saw myself. So people would gravitate to me. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I'm like, you like me? And my sister said, you still struggle with the little fat kid in you. And she's right. I mean, my sister's telling me, she's like, you need to embrace all of that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I do now. It's just like one day I remember getting my grades back from school this first semester, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to the restroom and I was just happy, and then I just started crying because I
Oh.
never applied myself. Honestly, Dan, I look back, even when I was at BMG and when I was at all the friendships and people that I met, I was
Mm-hmm.
wanting people to validate me and say, "Hey, Mose, you're good." And people would say things, but people would take advantage of it. I needed to
Mm.
remind myself because if I could go
Mm-hmm.
back in time and do a do-over,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be sitting in a mansion. We'd probably be in London somewhere sitting. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it would be different. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
I don't regret my life. I really don't. It's just that I just I fell in love with Mose Harden, and
Yeah.
I didn't back then. That's why I said that's what's so different. I'm I'm fucking amazing.
Yes, you are.
And I don't mean to say it.
Yes, you are.
And but I didn't know that then. It's like, oh my God, I've been this same guy for years, and I didn't even know. But because I
That's
felt like I was
beautiful.
only as successful as the people I was around, because BMG made me, but it didn't. I mean, it was
Mm-mm.
they was happy to have me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
again, it sounds really crazy, and it's like I feel like I'm 20 again, and I'm going on 57, and it's just funny. That's why I said when I go out into the world, this is the person that people are meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he so damn happy? And it's like, I mean, when I tell you I am that's why I said, don't let me get no award. Don't let me get 15 minutes on anybody's stage. They're going to think, get that Negro off of there. Because I'm going to have a testimony. People going to be looking like, what the what? And that's why I'm so excited. Why I get
It's
so,
beautiful.
I am literally like elated because I don't, and all the things that was meant to kill me, to like break me, the fact that it didn't,
No.
is like, are you, and that's the part that I write about in my poetry, because I know there are other people that have had the same experiences and the
Mm-hmm.
same moments, and the great thing that I feel, and I told my aunt, I told my mom, is that if when I leave this planet, this stuff will still be here. What would Mose do?
Mm.
My poetry, my photography, all of that, the stuff that mattered to me,
Exactly. Yes.
that is immeasurable to me. You know, I mean,
Everlasting.
everlasting. It's like,
Yes.
and I say things on purpose, you know, with purpose
Mm-hmm.
to my parents, because I can't worry about what they say or what they don't say. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I say I love you when I want to say it. I mean, I don't really buy into that. Well, you know, take it however you want to take it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's because again, this is my journey, and
Yes.
I know the conversations I've had to survive off of. I have to remember the
Mm-hmm.
people that I did lose, and I remember those conversations because it got me through those moments. So I don't. I'm like you. I don't think death is final. I do believe that
Oh yeah.
people walk with us and all that, and I totally get it.
Absolutely.
So I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel, you know, I don't know who told me to call you. I don't know what led me to say, oh, you know, reach out. I mean, I don't think about it anymore. I just
Yeah.
go with it. And I didn't know
Yeah.
what we were going to do today. And it was like, you know, I always pray before I do something, go into it and say, you know, let's just have fun with it and go with it. And
Yeah.
accept all the mistakes, accept all the, you know, and yeah, we went over a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but you know what? I'm enjoying it. So
Me
I'm happy
too.
with it. So again, it's one of those things, again, I feel like we have to do what's best for us. And I'm finally doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
like even with school, nobody knows about me being in school. Like you and maybe my family and a handful of people, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't post it at all. Like on social
Mm-hmm.
media, I have literally not said anything about it. It's just something that's sacred to me, and
Yes.
it's something that I need to do. So, and people can watch the news and get caught up in it if they want to, but that's not where I am right now. And again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's the part that I think is good. And so for you, but I did have one question before we wrap.
Okay.
What is what inspired the Black Agenda, and what really do you want to come from it at the end of the day?
Okay. Thank you for that. I started it during COVID, and the I needed some place to put the George Floyd energy in my own life, in my own world. I don't really believe in marching. I've seen no results from that. And I've been saying for years, and I opened the movie with what would happen if we made different moves financially
Right.
in this country. How quickly would we be able to come to the table? I saw the basketball players unify and decide we're not going to play, so we're going to hold up this money until something gets done. But they had no list, they had nothing to ask for, and then somebody sent Obama in there to talk them down and make them go make. their masters some money.
Mm-hmm.
So that things like that infuriated me, and I had to have somewhere to put that anger, that rage, but it needed to be constructive,
Right.
um, and transformative, ideally, because if I'm creating art out of an anger, then I can't be angry when I finish the art
Right.
because the art didn't work
Right.
then.
Right.
So I dived in to what I see as a blueprint for our community and what we can do. I slightly touch history,
Mm.
but it's just a very light touch with history because we've been inundated with the history. We know the history. We
Yeah.
know, you know. So I didn't feel the need to go there. I felt like here are the areas that we need to focus on as a community, as a nation of people who have this commonality of ancestry. And here's what we need to focus on
Right.
and what we can do so that the next time, if there's a next, situation, there will be a list, there will be an agenda, there will be action items that can be um, expressed.
Right.
Now, getting it out has been a challenge
Right.
because it's been censored on YouTube. It's been since blocked out of the 2 hour version, just blocked in every way. The only place I've been able to upload it and it stayed uploaded and they didn't mess with it is Rumble
Okay.
at this point. But I feel like things have a way of getting to who they need to get to.
Right.
So I did the 25-minute version with the it's like there are 10
Right.
action items in the full movie, but I covered 5 of them in the short. And I'm gonna give it another go. I'm very tenacious.
Right.
So, but that's what inspired it. I mean, these are things that have been brewing within me
Right.
all my life, and growing up around the kind of black bourgeoisie
Mm-hmm.
of both Atlanta and Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
My mom the Spelman Knight, multi degrees, a master's from Stanford and such. And like I said, friends that would come to the house have streets named after them now. Um, when I was growing up, I saw something in them that I didn't like, even though I liked the people.
Right.
I didn't like the way they were um, undermining progress.
Right.
And I could feel it as that even as a child.
Right.
So it's a culmination of a lot of those things. And it was triggered by um, seeing the whole globe come together
Right.
and walk for what they saw as injustice
Right.
in the life and death of George Floyd.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, I hate the circumstances on which it was derived, but I do,
Mhm.
and I'm right there with you on that too. And if anything I can do to help that process along, please, by all means, say something. Let me know, and whatever resources I can to help, like I said, push that along.
Be careful what you say, because you are a badass manager. You are all that.
And,
You have always been a people person, a person who could just make things happen.
and
So,
and it's funny. Thank you for saying that, but it's funny because I feel like people were afraid of that about me because I've
oh
always been
no.
aggressive. Always. I mean, I've always, like my aunt said, how did you get all these opportunities without having a degree? And I've always been aggressive. I mean, I'm still that
Hmm.
way. I mean, the worst
Hmm.
thing they could say is no. So I, it's just one of those things. I've never been afraid of it. I've never been afraid to be that guy that said, "Hey, let me go." And I'm always going to the person in charge and saying, "Hey, who do I need to talk to about
Yes.
this?" And I've again, the worst thing they could
Oh,
say is no. So I don't really trip on that too much. The opportunities that I've created for myself is because I just asked. It
oh,
wasn't
I
even
love
like
it.
I did anything. I didn't do anything majorly special. But I
I
mean,
love that.
and we have to do a part two because there are
Yeah.
some things that we could definitely dive into as far because I have some management stories for you.
Ooh.
I mean, oh my God, it just again, I don't regret doing the things that I did, and I learned a lot during that time, and I love being this guy. I mean, I really, really do. I like being aggressive and assertive, and I don't know if it's a Leo thing completely, but it's one of those things. And yeah, I've been disappointed, hurt, and all that stuff, but I still do it. I still
Mm-hmm.
like the process. So, but I want to
Mm.
say, Deanna, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for bringing this conversation to light. I really, really, like I said, you don't know what you need until you get it. Sometimes it's like I needed that conversation, and
Thank you for having me. This has been a great honor and so much fun. So I appreciate it.
yeah, and again, I hope to do it again soon, and I
Yes.
also want to join you on your show. That being
Mhm.
said, can you tell the audience how they can find you, reach out to you, and say hello or whatever?
Yes, absolutely. Maiden Mother Master is my podcast. It is available wherever you listen to podcasts, and it's usually a spiritual deep dive into things. And um, so I would definitely invite people to do that. The book is Eternal Youth, Eternal Life, The Immortality Roadmap, and it's available on Amazon. Maiden Mother Master at gmail.com is probably the most direct way to reach me. And I have movies and music and stuff out there as well. If you, I can be found at I am Deanna Dawn on Instagram. And if you really like politics, Deanna Dawn on X.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, I want to say thank you for joining me on this journey. Another great memory I have under my belt, and I appreciate it. So I want you to have a blessed and joyous Sunday.
You too, Mose. I'm gonna go make my version of coffee right now. Cacao, matcha, turmeric latte.
Yeah, and I'm about to take my little black dog on a walk. All right, all right.
Oh, send me a pic. I want to see the little doggy. I
Will
love
do.
dog.
Will do.
Okay.
All right.
Have a beautiful day.
All right. You too. All right.
Okay.
All right. Bye bye.
Peace.